Hey, this is David Hayter. You may know me as the screenwriter of films like X-Men, X-Men 2, and Watchmen, but you probably know me best as the voice of Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. And you're listening to Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova podcast. Kept you waiting, huh?
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Kasanova podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, and today I have a very, very, very special guest. I've got the one and only Ben with the Shangri La Musuem. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Really excited to have you here with us.
Hey, cool, man. It's this collaboration between Shangri La Musuem, Doris Duke Foundation, and Assassin's Creed with Ubisoft. How has that been so far?
Oh, it's been thrilling. You know, our founder, Doris Duke, who built Shangri La originally as her home, had this vision for the objects of her collection to be appreciated and to extend the kind of spark and connection that art can bring to understanding other cultures.
Yeah.
So to be able to have this opportunity with Ubisoft has just been really exciting for the team.
Nice. So, what was, could you tell us a bit about your role here at Shangri La Musuem, and what's a typical day like for you?
You bet. So I'm the executive director here at our center.
Yeah.
What does that mean? At the highest level, it means I get the privilege of leading our very talented team, many of whom have been with the center and Doris Duke Foundation for many years, and others that are newer to the mix, which really creates a special blend of different visions and talents as we bring this place to life. A lot of what we do here is about supporting the Doris Duke Foundation, which at its core is about creating a more sustainable, equitable, and creative future. And how do we do that? That's through our arts and culture program, that's through our nature program, and it's through our health and well-being programs as well. So that's the Doris Duke Foundation piece. And then we sit here as a center of the Doris Duke Foundation at Shangri La. There's actually a sister center called Duke Farms, which is 2,700 acres land stewardship and amazing research in climate and conservation. And so we sit as the centers of the Doris Duke Foundation within the umbrella of the Doris Duke Foundation.
Okay, cool. And for you, what was it like for you to pursue the career path that you're on and getting to work with the center? What was the process of that?
Well, I always like to say it always makes sense when you look in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
But if you told me when I lived here in 2001, we're sitting here in 2025, that I would be leading the Museum of Islamic Art, Culture, and Design known as Shangri La, I'd be like, how would that happen? I'm working for Universal Music. So I'm steeped in a commercial background, building partnerships, building relationships, which as a center based in Honolulu, Hawaii, is really important, of course, to understand the importance of humans and trust and connecting with your community. And then through these partnership relationships, I entered more operational roles, general management roles, either taking companies through transformation or, say, when I was at Disney, telling stories. Yeah. And storytelling is just really at the heart of all we do for driving impact and influence. So when you put those puzzle pieces together, along with my time in Hawaii, it was just a really interesting turn of events that brought me back to Hawaii, and I'm just so honored to have the role I have today.
Awesome. What has been your role so far with the collaboration between Shangri La Musuem and Ubisoft for this Assassin's Creed collaboration?
Sure. Well, when our staff heard about the opportunity about Assassin's Creed Mirage, we thought, is there a way then to collaborate? And so the team reached out, and in that found this opportunity to feature the two objects. Yeah. And with that, we learned from Ubisoft that they were creating a feature called The History of Baghdad.
Yes.
And so for those familiar with the franchise or this specific game, it's an opportunity to dig deeper And this isn't just some sort of cursory kind of achievement unlocked, getting an item. You actually get to dive deep into the history of the object. And this is all corroborated with research and authentic historians and art curators to really bring to life these objects that were taking shape in 9th century Baghdad.
Yeah.
So it just was a natural fit. It was something where when things are just easy, they seem to happen. And we're again, just so... the word privilege comes up to be able to be a part of a franchise that puts so much care into the storytelling that they're getting out to the audience.
Okay. And yeah, like there are 2 objects that are in the game specifically, because I believe that the city that the game is set in, originally it was destroyed at some point, so they were collecting and doing as much research as they could to recreate that city, and you know, collaborating with you guys to incorporate the 2 objects. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, there's the 2 objects. There's a glass-blown jar, and then there's a 12-sided bronze mortar used for grinding.
Yeah.
You know, you can think of artists and their pigments or pharmaceuticals being made, or grains for agriculture. Now that's from 11th to 12th century, but still knowing the forms and objects used in 9th century Baghdad, it made perfect sense to have in there. And I think for us at the highest level, for the importance of what to know about these objects, it's just how, again, authenticity comes into play with storytelling. And when you visit a museum, it's so easy just to look at things and think, that looks old and interesting, but what is it? And what we get to do with this partnership is actually dive deeper, as I had shared earlier, and talk about, well, why is this mortar important, and how was it used? And I know that Doris Duke would just be so excited to know that this deep appreciation for her objects are now being able to be infused as something as current as video gaming.
Yeah, it's really amazing how like video games have gone from just to, like, little pixels that were going across the screen, and to just full-blown like pseudo-realism at this point, like being vehicles to tell expressive stories or showcase history, such as Assassin's Creed Mirage. And it's just amazing how far the technology has come. That aside, like, what would you like people to know about this, the location that we're at now, and like where, if they want to get tickets to come do tours, or, you know, anything you'd like to share?
Well, first off, we would love to invite anyone. You could be a gamer, you could be a museum lover, you could be someone who just loves beautiful places.
Yeah.
Shangri La it's hard to explain without experiencing it. You're sitting here, you can hear the ocean, you can feel the wind, or the Makani and Olelo, Hawaii. And these things come together to create a really special experience. And then we have this collection that there's nothing like it. You know, we're sitting here on a cliff in Hawaii with these objects collected and curated from so many years ago across the Islamic art culture diaspora, which we won't go into that lesson today, but Islamic art can somewhat be a misnomer, knowing all the different countries and cultures that Islamic art does represent. But what we get to do with those objects is use those as a catalyst and as a jumping off point to have really interesting and sometimes difficult conversations. We have a mihrab as an example, a prayer niche that you would find in a mosque. Why do we have that? What's the provenance? It was taken from a mosque. Is that okay? How do you feel about it if you're a student coming to Shangri La? These are sorts of the conversations that maybe some folks have never thought about. Is it safer here than maybe where it was if it was going to be destroyed? So having these conversations are really what our staff live to then drive when we see those light bulbs go off between our guests. And as I had kind of called our founder into play, Doris Duke, you know, she left this place for the public, and it was converted from a house museum to what we have today with galleries. And for the future, we're looking at Shangri La as a place to have important conversations, really as a convening center. In addition, rooted in our collection to this idea of what it means to have art drive these important conversations. So we've been doing some really exciting work in diplomacy, in technology, in indigenous conversations, with our Kanaka Maoli audiences here on the island. And I would just say stay tuned for more.
Awesome, awesome. And I previously got to go and do a whole tour, except for this area. This is new to me and is absolutely beautiful. So if you haven't, make sure you get to come here at some point. But the tour is just such an experience from start to finish. What are the, for the viewers who would like to come and visit in person, what are the hours and how often do you guys do tours here?
Sure. Well, as of today, we're sitting again here in 2025, right, in April. So we're going to be changing some things this summer, but as of today, we offer tours Thursday, Fridays, and Saturday. They are at 9:30, 11:30, 1:30, and 3:30. So we have those 4 time slots. We can only have about 25 folks a tour because of a conditional use permit we have with the city to honor and respect the neighborhood where we are, because we are in a residential neighborhood. So with that, we book out with our current partner, Honolulu Museum of Art, who handles all of the ticketing, about 3 months. So the month prior to those 3 months is when you would need to book out. So if you know you're coming to Honolulu, you want to definitely check out our schedule, and we'd love to see you.
I heard that when the tickets are available, they sell off super quickly.
They do. So we do our best to accommodate when there's cancellations and letting folks know that there are, as we say here in Hawaii, pukas in the schedule. But that is something we're looking, as I had alluded to, later this year to reduce that window, because I don't know what I'm doing next month, let alone in 3 months. But we know that for our tourists and our guests visiting from off island, they might. But we really want to make this place more accessible to our local audiences as well. So again, some changes to come later this year with the accessibility being hopefully enhanced as we see it.
And then for the last question I have is, what would you like to share with the audience before we go regarding Shangri La Musuem, Doris Duke, collaboration with Ubisoft, or anything that's on your mind right now?
Thank you for, again, the opportunity to connect today, and just a big mahalo, a big thank you to Ubisoft for the great partnership. And again, I think I'll just end on the invitation that we'd love to have you visit. We'll have the exhibit up for quite some time. And of course, there's a digital experience that you can visit at our website as well. And to, again, remind folks that this place, Shangri La, was built by a woman so far ahead of her time. In the 30s, this place was built when she was in her early 20s. Without Excel, without iPhone,
I know,
with just pictures and barges and artists and a vision. And for us to be able to steward her vision and to use this Aina, this land, and the art, the collection, to do the important work that we're all setting out to do, especially in these really complicated times. If you can be a part of our story in some way, we would love to have you.
Thank you. And I always like to leave an extra question. Just a fun one. Did you have fun with this interview?
How could I not? No, it's always great to talk about Shangri La, especially as unique of a partnership as the Ubisoft collaboration has been, and always great to meet what we say, akamai and just good people here on island. So again, mahalo for the time today. Thank you.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you guys for reaching out and giving me this opportunity to come here and experience and do this interview with you. And also thank you to Ubisoft for making me, I'm the first Ubisoft partner in Hawaii ever.
Hey,
and then thank you guys for the opportunity. I got to review the game. Game is amazing. If you haven't already, check out Assassin's Creed Mirage or the brand new Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's a phenomenal game. And with that being said, sign out, people. You can catch this episode and other episodes of the podcast on every major podcasting platform, specifically on Spotify, who is the sponsor of our show. Thank you, Spotify, for sponsoring the show for the last 7 years. Greatly appreciate you guys. And with that being said, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out and ahuiho.
listening to this episode of the Kasanova podcast, number one podcast in Hawaii. If you found this episode to be incredibly enjoyable, informative, or if there's anything you gain from it, or any insight, or anything that's good that you really, really enjoyed, make sure whatever platform you're listening to it on, or if you're watching it, leave a comment if that's available on the platform, like it, share it around with someone you think would enjoy it, and give us some feedback, because your feedback is exactly what we need to keep this show going. And if you're wondering what are some ways that you could support the show, we got various ways. We've got Patreon, we have channel memberships over on YouTube, as well as Subscribestar, Coffee, and so much more. Links for everything will be in the description of the podcast, so make sure you go check that out. And with all that being said, I hope you have an aloha rest of your day.
Let them know that I'm next level. I'm a whole new kind of guy. Yeah. Yes, at the top spot, in case you forgot. We the ones that got the block hot, bullet got the shot.